Ta-da! Hello and welcome to Tutorials with Larry. My name is Larry King and I hope to teach you something new today. So if you watched the first video in the series, you can see I made a couple of small tweaks to our house that we started. It was a little bland, so I added some landscaping, some paths, a bit of trees and such. And I expanded it out in the middle here too a little bit, so I have a nice little bedroom with some storage and some cooking areas and some crafting areas. And I also added this over here, so eventually we're going to get enough bookshelves where we can build a little enchanting room. So just wanted to prepare a little bit for the future. So today's episode, I would like to talk about farming. We need to do some mining to try to get some diamond, but before we do that, it'd be nice to get a good supply of food and also things like leather and whatnot. So probably a good idea to maybe start making some cow farms, maybe some sheep farms. We can do some nice colored wool and also just some crops too, some carrots, potatoes, and wheat. So there's actually a village over here, and I'm pretty sure there were a couple farmers over there. So I'm going to go over there and sort of raid the village a little bit and borrow some of their crops, and then we can get started building some farms. Okay, let's see what we got over here. Looks like a farmer straight ahead. See what he's got. Okay, well this guy's got some, looks like some beets, potatoes, and carrots. So this guy over here, I think what we're going to do is maybe let's borrow these bales of hay. You can turn these into wheat. I'm going to go ahead and harvest a couple of these. Basically all you have to do to harvest these, just hit them with some type of a weapon like an axe or whatever. Preferably you want to use a hoe, but I haven't made one yet, so I'll make one when we set up our own farms. So go ahead and just hit the crops, and you can see they just drop these vegetables. So we've got one beetroot and some beetroot seeds. So I think you can actually drag this to your crafting table, and never mind, you can't turn it into seeds. You can with pumpkins and some other stuff. So we're not going to steal all this guy's crops, but just enough to get started. Okay, looks like we have another farm over here, so let's borrow a couple of these as well. So before we start farming, I want to come in here and make a couple of buckets. You're going to need probably at least one, if not two. So basically you just need 3 iron. Just put them in a little V shape like so, and you make a bucket. I'll make 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill these with water. I'll show you how to do that. And I want to give you another tip as well before we start farming, and that's fishing. So once you get, I think it's 2 or 3 string, basically you have to kill some spiders to do that. You can combine those with some sticks and create a fishing pole. And let me show you how to use it. It's super easy. Just take out your fishing pole, right click on the water, and you see when the fish comes up, these bubbles appear and it pulls your bobber down. You just right click and it pulls the fish right in. Now what's really cool about this, it's a great source of food when you're first starting out, but it's also a great source of getting some lucky enchanted items. I've fished a few times so far. I haven't found any of the enchanted items yet, but sometimes you can find an enchanted fishing pole, which gives you an even better chance of getting lucky with some other stuff. Or you can get like an enchanted bow, or sometimes you'll actually get really lucky and get an enchanted book. Anyway, let's fill up our buckets here. So basically you just grab the bucket, right click on the water, and it just fills it. And then you can take that bucket and dump it in somewhere else, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and sleep for the night, and then let's get started farming. Okay, well this is a good start to our farm here. Let me show you how this works. Basically when you're farming crops, you want to put some water within probably every couple blocks of dirt. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually use a hoe and sort of, I guess you'd say, prepare the dirt, and then we can plant some seeds in it. And I'll show you how that works. So I think earlier I said we're going to plant some wheat. You can't actually plant wheat. you can plant the wheat seeds. So what you do is you pull out your hoe, and let's say this looks like a good place for wheat. You just right click on these, and it basically makes the dirt plantable. So then you take your seeds out, and these will change color. But that doesn't really matter. If they do actually change to the regular dirt color, then you have to hit them again with the hoe. Okay, so now with regards to putting the water in here, let me show you how to do that with the buckets. So if you place water anywhere in the game, such as right here, you'll see the water actually will sort of use physics and run sort of downhill as best as it can. And water can only reach so many blocks. I think it's like 8 blocks or something like that. Now, as long as the water's touching the dirt, that's really what matters. But, you know, this actually looks a lot nicer. This sort of still water here. Looks kind of like a pool of water instead of running water. So I'll show you how to do that. It's a pretty simple trick. So we'll grab our other bucket. Now the first bucket we put in this block here, let's skip a block and let's pour this bucket right here. Now what you can see, still got running water down there. It's going a little further, but now we have these still blocks here. So then take your bucket, go to this first still block and right click, and there's still blocks. So then come down here, just kind of keep repeating that process. And there you go. You've got a nice pool of water. So just do that in all of your trenches. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these. Actually, we're not going to plant beetroots. They're kind of like the worst crop, that and watermelon. But I'm going to plant the potatoes. You just plant the raw potatoes. And I'm going to plant some carrots. And then I'm going to do something kind of unique here in the middle. So I'll be back in a second and show you how that's going to work. Okay, that's about all the seeds we have right now. So we've got some wheat here. I've got these berry bushes. If you go out in the wild, especially like in a cedar forest, like out here, there are these berry bushes you can find. And let me explain those here in just a second. But we have enough carrots here to fill this whole row, and I only have 5 potatoes. So first thing I want to show you guys is if you find any bones, these are awesome. So throw them in your little crafting table, and you see you can turn them into bone meal. So this stuff doesn't last real long, but it actually can be used to help sort of speed up the growth of a tree. If you wanted to sort of add a bunch of random grass to an area, you can right-click on the ground with some bone meal and a bunch of grass will grow. That's kind of how I started reseeding all the grass and flowers around my house. But it's also cool for crops too. So I just want to show you something here. So let's go to one of these potato plants. If you right-click on it, you can see it gets that little green glitter going on. Let's go ahead and click on it again. Now what you can see here is as these plants grow, which it does take time, so you get some berries on that bush right there. As they grow, they get a little taller until they basically get to a maximum size. Now, I recommend before you harvest any of these plants, wait till they get to their full growth because you'll get the most sort of fruit or vegetables out of them. So let's go ahead and do another one here. So you can see we kind of ate through a lot of our bone meal. All right, that's as far as that one's going to get. But let me harvest these. So it took 3 potatoes to plant this. So if you take out your hoe and just hit them with the hoe, you can see we have 14 potatoes. So that was very profitable. So eventually you'll be able to have enough crops here to fill up this whole area. And then once you do, each time you harvest it, you'll get tons and tons more. Now, potatoes, you want to basically cook them in a furnace or a smoker. And they'll make baked potatoes. And those are actually really great sources of food. Okay, that's all we can do for now. So basically while you're sitting here messing around by your house and doing things like that, your farms will grow, and just keep checking on them from time to time, and you can go ahead and harvest them when you need to. Now this thing here in the middle, these berries are, they're okay as a food source, but they're decent enough to where I think they're worth growing. Now the problem is they're a prickly bush, so if you actually run into them, they'll damage you, and they actually slow you down too. So if you put up some sort of like, these are basically just little gates. If you put some of these up, these trap doors, you can actually walk along here and harvest these with your hoe, and it won't damage you at all. So it's just a little protective barrier here. And I'll go ahead and make this farm look a little bit prettier too. I'll dress it up a little bit more. But for now, that's a good start for us for growing some crops. So the next thing I'm going to work on is trying to get some animals over here. And let's go ahead and see if we can start reproducing animals and using them for some food sources as well. All right, well, I went ahead and made a couple of farms that we can use to store some pigs and some cows and some chickens. But before I show you those, I wanted to make something here. So it's called a hopper. So what a hopper basically is, think of it kind of like a funnel, right? So if you were to drop something on top of the hopper, it would then take that item and put it someplace else, like inside of a chest, for instance. So I'm going to go ahead and make 4 of these, and I'll show you why in just a second. Okay, oops, I made 5 accidentally, but that's okay. I'll show you how this works. So, and like I said earlier, your crops do grow pretty quickly. So you can see I dressed the farm up here a little bit more, just so it's not so plain looking. So let's come on over here. I'll show you the pens that I made for the animals. So I'll probably put I'm guessing the cows in this one here, and put the pigs in this one. So basically the thing you need to know if you're going to be storing animals is they can actually hop over a single block, but if you make it at least a block and a half, they can't hop over. The other option is you can just use fence or gates, things like that, and they can't hop over those either because those are technically like 1.5 blocks tall. So right over here, I'm going to make a place to put the chickens. Now, you don't need a lot of space for the chickens, and this is actually kind of a semi-automated farm. There's a lot of ways to farm animals using automated systems with redstone and pistons and all kinds of things like that. But for the purposes of these tutorials, I really just want to show you the most basic versions of these farms. So basically the idea is you want to sort of lure an animal over to here. You want to trap it, and you actually want to do that to 2 animals. And then what you can do is give them some food, and they will make some babies. So once you do that, you can keep repeating that process. And over time, you can have a ton of animals that you can use for food or for other supplies. So anyway, the chicken farm here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a chest right here in the front. And I'm going to put 4 hoppers over here. And what you want the hoppers to do is to feed into the chest. So I'll show you how to make that happen. So let's get our hoppers. Now if you hold down the shift key and you right click on the chest there, it drops the hopper down. It's probably hard to see from this angle, but the hopper is actually feeding into the back of the chest there. And then do the same over here. Hold down the shift key and right click on the back of that hopper. So this hopper will feed into that hopper, which will feed into that chest. And then we'll repeat the process over here. Perfect. Now, just to give you a demonstration of how this works, let me grab some of these sweet berries, and I'll hit the letter Q to drop one. And you can see it just disappeared. If I open the chest, it's right in the chest there. So the cool thing is this chest is just going to collect stuff. So when I come over here to kill some chickens, all their meat's going to get collected in here. But even more importantly, they're going to lay eggs all the time. And when they do that, those are just going to constantly get collected right in this system. So just kind of as a finishing touch, you can actually lay some carpet on top just to hide the hoppers. So, and I'm going to put some fence going across here once I get the chickens over here. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by getting a couple of cows. So I'm going to look around this land here. I know there was a couple of cows around. What you need is you need some wheat. So all you have to do is you put the wheat in your hand just like this. You show it to the cow and he'll come running right after you. So I might have to drag him across a little bit of distance here, but I think it wouldn't take too long. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of cows, and I'll be back here in just a second. Okay, that looks like our first victim. So let me pull the wheat out. And just like that, he comes running. So it's going to take a second, but I'll sort of keep backing my way all the way back to my land, and I'll back my way into the cow pen that I built, and then close the gate and trap him in there. And then I'll do the same for another cow, and then I'll show you how to mate them. Alright, well, I have successfully trapped 2 cows, so let me show you how to mate them. It's actually very easy. So basically what you want to do is get the food that you used to lure them over here, which is wheat for these guys, and you just right click on them, and they'll make little hearts, and come back in a little while and there's going to be a little baby. So I'm going to go look for some pigs now and some chickens. The way you lure pigs is you want to use carrots, and for chickens you want to use just these wheat seeds right here. And the chickens are kind of a pain. They're a little bit harder because they're a little faster. They can get away a little easier, but the pigs aren't too bad. So I'm going to go grab some more animals, and I will be back here in a minute. Now seriously, how can you look at that baby cow and not feel happy? It's just too cute. Well, I've got some pigs, I've got some cows, and they are starting to make baby pigs and cows, and also chickens. I'll show you how that's working out. So, looks like a couple baby chicks back there. And you just basically just keep coming up, keep feeding them from time to time, and they'll keep making babies. And if you look in here, you can see as they're laying eggs, they're just showing up in there as well. So that's going to add up pretty fast. Well, I think that's basically it for this video. The next video, I am definitely going to start looking at making a new mine for us to explore, because I think we need to get some diamonds, and that'll pretty much get us past the basic stages of the game. We can move on to some more advanced topics after that. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and if you liked the video, definitely would appreciate a like. And if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, just hit that subscribe button. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.